Hello, hello. Back for another episode of Bad Ideas Podcast. We're here with Daniel Eccles, founder at Learned Opportunity. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. You got it right the first time there, so that
Yeah,
that's good. We don't have to do any more takes.
we'll not tell people that I've been rehearsing. But I mean, if you could just give the group a little overview of Learned Opportunity and kind of what you're creating.
Yeah, so Learned Opportunity is just the LLC kind of covering name over there. But what it's really about is I have a podcast called The Opportunity Collective, and it's a collaborative space for emerging leaders, creatives, and entrepreneurs. And we basically meet together to collaborate on the things that we're passionate and excited about and offer to help one another and also see what are some ways that you might need help yourself. So, any of the guests that I have on the podcast answer three things. The first is, what are you excited about? And then after we talk a little bit about that, they offered their different skill sets and products and other stuff to Opportunity Collective members to help them on the things they're excited about. And then we give them the opportunity to ask for help, and the Opportunity Collective members can then use their skill sets and things in order to help them on whatever, maybe they don't like to do their podcast editing or some of the other sort of things like that. So giving the,
This guy.
yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, it's a lot, right? So it's giving a lot of opportunities to people and trying to, collaborate instead of what we normally do on the internet as creatives and entrepreneurs and competing all the time. So that's what it's all about.
Awesome. I mean, it sounds fantastic. I got to become a more avid listener. I think that's kind of part of our mission here is fostering some more of that, like, collaborative, to quote you, creative effort. Um, but I think here we have the backdrop of a really bad idea to make it a little humorous too. So,
For sure.
well,
Well, and that's
we
the thing
lack
I
your
like.
output.
That's the thing I like about it too, is just trying to get over that whole idea that you're having to be an expert or
Yeah,
self-made success sort of a thing. Before coming on to the podcast, I'm like, oh, do I know enough about business to riff off of like this is a bad idea or
yeah.
this or that? And it's not really all about that, and I don't need to worry about that. We just have some fun, work together, and yeah,
Let's see where it
and see
goes.
where it goes.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
I'll read our bad idea of today is executive fortune telling services, offering B2B clients fortune telling for decision making purposes.
Oh
What are your
gosh.
initial reactions?
Well, don't we do that already with like stock market sort of stuff anyway? Isn't it kind of like business to business fortune telling of it's going to go up or it's going to go down? So maybe it's already a service that is being given. So definitely isn't a great idea if there's not really a market for it because it's already settled, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm thinking this is more quite literally, here's what's going to happen in the future, which makes me laugh a little bit because, like you said, there's a million and one experts out there
Hmm.
that would love to tell you what's going to come next. And everyone takes credit when they're right and pretends they didn't forecast something when they're wrong. So you
Hmm.
have and I mean, Twitter is amazing for this. You have people posting contradictory forecasts and then pinning the one that was right. It's
I suppose it would be nice though to have it advertised truthfully, as there are plenty of people who are doing this already. And it would be nice if they just put it on their Twitter profile in their bio that they are a executive fortune telling service,
yeah.
so that you would know, okay, I don't need to listen to or follow them because they don't know any better than I do. So
Or at least they think they do.
what are these
Yeah.
things to do? Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a certification for something like this. I think this is a bad idea because, particularly business to business, you need to validate
Mm,
everything that you're selling. Like, here's why
mm,
you buy from me. Um, and in executive fortune telling, one, it's impossible to tell the future, but two, like, you'd have to develop some kind of track record of being right. And it's just the law of averages. If you tell enough fortunes, you're probably going to be right. So you'd have to get so many people to hire you to have enough success stories to create some credibility that you can never really get the business off the ground. Um,
yeah.
so that's a kind of baked in challenge.
I just wonder too if the traditional fortune telling, from what I understand, have you ever gone to a fortune teller, Nick?
Never, have you?
No, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
No, and not necessarily something that I think I would be all that interested
Me
in.
either.
But from what I understand, it's usually for an individual. So business to business, I mean, you're having to tell almost the fortune of a massive group of people. I don't know. I feel like that would be intimidating for any fortune teller as well. And I don't know how fortune telling works or any of that, but I would think that it would be just even more difficult to be able to provide those services to an entire business as well.
Yeah. I mean, the other piece is just the service business to business is like
Mm-hmm.
kind of antithetical to business, meaning if you can tell a business their future, why wouldn't you just invest or bet on that business? You know, you wouldn't be selling it to them; you'd be monetizing it yourself, right?
That's true. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, which yeah, it would definitely be counterintuitive for sure. Yeah, you
Yeah,
buy some good stock and just ride the wave.
yeah. We talk about this a lot with some of the companies we support. Like, where is the real customer? And it's trying to identify which party involved in the transaction gets the most value out of it. And
Mm.
sometimes
Hmm.
think about B2B to C just to be really simple. Sometimes the customer that you're helping doesn't get as much value out of your work as the business that's brokering whatever you're doing. Um, so let me see if I can think of like an example. If you think about any retail store, right? So somebody, selling milk to end consumers. Um, the person selling the milk to the store, retail, makes a lot more money than the
Mm-hmm.
person buying the gallon of milk. So your real customer isn't necessarily the end consumer. It's to find a way to be maximum um, or drive maximum lift and value for the retailer for you.
Mm.
Um, so, like I think in the case of fortune telling for businesses and executives, like your fortune could make more value for you than it could for the business. You couldn't charge the business enough to outsize what the return would be if you just invested on those insights. So
Yeah.
it's competing with itself.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's really smart. That's definitely a good point. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's who everyone wants to know what's going to happen next,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone wants to have some kind of edge into the future. But what are people doing today to try to figure that out? So they're reading the news, they're subscribing to RSS feeds,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
following podcasts. Like where else is that fortune teller spend going now that could be offset? Like, is there a baked in market you can think of where
Well,
people do this stuff?
I wonder. It's not necessarily even about the information as much as it is the feeling and the security that somebody else is telling you how it's going to
Uh,
be, and so something to have faith in general. Whereas it's really hard to get that same emotional experience from the news, from social media, from any of these other sources for forecasting that we're getting. So
uh,
that's really what the product would be for this is for and why business to business wouldn't be a great model either because the business doesn't need emotional support and security and to have that feeling. Maybe the executives at the business do, but it wouldn't necessarily work out because they yeah, it's just not necessarily a thing has to do about forecasting in general as much as it is about feelings and emotions and security
yeah.
and more human centered sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about the financial space where this is most valuable because it's the most risk averse
Mm-hmm.
space out there. Um, and I just feel you're familiar with advisory firms. One company is buying another company and they bring in a third party to make sure they're spending the right amount
Yeah,
or
yeah,
it's
yeah.
structured the right way. Yeah,
Okay,
I,
yeah.
I kind of feel like that falls into this category because
Hmm.
as much as there are experts out there that can properly evaluate a business and maybe find things that you missed internally. I feel like most of that work, from an emotional standpoint, I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
certainly amazing advisory firms out there and they're worth ungodly amounts of money. But I think from an emotional standpoint, the partner or like the investing partner at the PE firm or the fund that's making the acquisition is hiring the advisory
Mm.
firm because they can blame that guy if it doesn't go well. They can be like, here are the 5 different people that said this was a good deal and validated what I said. Therefore,
Mm.
I wasn't alone in my assumption and I don't bear all of the responsibility for this not working. And I
Gosh,
wonder if a
that
fortune
bring
teller, yeah,
yeah, that, I don't know. That brings up to me even then too of if you can put all the blame on the other, how are these fortune tellers going to protect themselves from being sued and
yeah.
from some of the liability that comes along with this? Are there
Mm-hmm.
insurances? I don't know. Like it just seems like even too much of a risk for them to do it in the business.
They make
Uh,
you sign a huge disclaimer that says everything I'm about to say is not legally binding.
yeah, it's for fun, not
This is purely done for emotional support. So don't make
yeah.
business decisions.
Don't make
Maybe that's
business
it though.
decisions. Hmm.
If we're turning the corner into good ideas now, or how to turn this into a good idea, maybe a business fortune telling service is like the advisory firm for SMB.
Hmm.
You're not transacting your company, but you need someone to come tell you it's going to be okay.
Hmm.
So you pay a business fortune teller.
Yeah, or I mean, even just the place of like mentorship and other things like that. It really would cover the same sort of stuff and just be instead of a fortune being told, it's just here's my own experience, here's some advice for you, and really diving into the mentorship and that's usually free as well as well. So I guess that's a little bit harder, but maybe consulting would get a little bit more into this space. Just is executive coaching certainly would probably be close.
Yeah, those are good, valuable categories, and some of those charge fairly high premiums. They're good businesses.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if the name fortune teller is the reason this is such a bad business idea, because you think fortune, you think riches automatically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But it's funny. Is it's definitely something that isn't going to. Well, let me rephrase. Edit all that out.
No, we're keeping it in. This is
Oh,
raw. We're showing
oh
people how we
gosh,
think.
oh
Uh,
gosh. Uh, I just think that as far as like fortune telling too, it goes back to me with that it's not about the fortune, it's not about the finance. Why people would sign up for this originally, it is about the emotion. So it is almost yeah, it probably would be the problem is the naming of it because you're not naming your services after what you're actually providing or the problem that you're solving or other things like that. Um,
mhm.
so you want to make sure that they would know like what they're supposed to be getting, and I think a coach would be a much more appropriate name for this, or a mentor, or just some sort of like executive support services, or something along those lines. Because I don't know, are there other things besides emotional and stuff that
Nope.
the fortune telling is
there's
giving you?
there's there's no real value. But I mean, if we're
Yeah,
gonna get really spacey and really emotional, because I think we have to. Like, this is a
yeah.
bad idea, and I think if we don't, we can't make it a good idea. I don't know if we can make it a good one anyway. But um, imagine. So it's still called business fortune telling, because it's outrageous. People would
Hmm.
be like, "What is this?" And maybe there's like a free 15-minute session or something. So people who are just like, "This is outrageous. Let's see what it is,"
Hmm.
like kind of come in to drive your own demand. And maybe it is. We're anchoring in on this emotional support side. The purpose isn't to tell the fortune of the business; is to inspire confidence in the leader and whatever they're going to do.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things where like the game of 20 questions, you can pretty much figure out what anything is regardless of what it is.
Hmm.
You have like 4 or 5 questions in that introductory session that help you figure out if the person wants to grow more, or wants to cut spend,
Uh,
what their major business shift is, and then tell them that's a fantastic idea and it's going to work out great. So what you're really paying for is someone to paint a rosy picture of your future so you can go forward with or go through with the thing that you really think you need to. um, and I think that
hmm.
actually could be insulated from liability because, I mean, you probably know this from your own business. Like, action in whatever direction you take is always more valuable than inaction because
Hmm.
you learn. Like, worst possible case, you learn and get better for the umpteenth time you're going to have to experience that challenge again in the future. Best case, it works out really well and you're advancing. So you advance in mind or you advance in results. In either case, you advance. So maybe that's what it is. It's called executive fortune telling, but it's really just like a cheerleading service, to make people feel like they should do the thing that they want to.
Yeah. Or it's good branding for lead magnet, maybe for
Yeah.
data analytics
Hey.
company,
Yeah.
sort of a thing. Get like your fortune telling session, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it's using data to forecast or
So it has an
some things that
objective
are
component.
something a little
Yeah.
bit more based in reality and facts and things like that.
No
Gosh, okay,
spacey.
now I'm going to get a lot of emails from executive fortune telling services people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Say what we
You
do is legit, Daniel. Like,
your business is going to fail. I
right?
know this because I'm a fortune teller.
You just yeah. So maybe I shouldn't use those strong words like that the other would be truth or or facts and things like that because I might get some in mail from fortune telling aficionados or people like that.
Yeah.
But that is also my opinion. So
Yeah, I mean, I think I might be right there with you, and I would be kind of inspired if we found out that there's some massive like business to business fortune telling union out there
yeah.
with thousands of these guys, and it's a real thing. Um, it's such a hard one to wrap your head around, and you need to anchor it to something so subtle and immeasurable for it to succeed. It seems like a difficult one to make work.
Hmm. I think that what's hard about this business idea for me to know how to turn it into good ideas, I just don't really know the market or
Yeah.
the business or anything about fortune telling all that much. The most I know is when I lived in Oregon, there was a tarot reading card place like that,
Hmm.
like across the street, and some people would go in and see their psychic that I knew, but I never asked them about their experience. So I'd be really curious to know people's
Yeah.
experiences with fortune telling, psychics, other things like that. To
Yeah. Well, what about, making it a little closer to home for you? What about folks from the podcast? They come to you and they tell you what they're looking for and where the opportunities are for them, and you help through the broadcasting of the show,
hmm.
either directly or indirectly connect them with people that can bring those to life. Like, imagine if those people could sit down with someone who could tell them, hey, we see you building towards this goal. You're going to hit it in 16 months. And these three
Mm,
things that you think you need to do, those are the keys to getting there. So, regardless of whether or not those are absolutely the only three things, or those are three of the things that they could do to get there, the people get off the phone and they're like, I'm going to do them all right now. Like, let's get it done and let's get there. And that pattern of doing stuff actually does propel them to their goal.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what if that could be a real thing? I don't know.
I think it definitely is a real thing. Like anybody that's coming onto the Opportunity Collective usually has like their own creative platform or something that they're really passionate about impacting the community for. And those things just take time and consistent effort to do. It's all these small things. Like an instant success is 10 years in the making. Like, oh man,
Yeah,
this person is an instant success, but they've been doing it for 10 years longer than some of these other creatives and emerging leaders that I work with. So I definitely think that that is valuable just to be able to sit down and say, hey, if you do these few things, if you're consistent with this, if you um, participate in this community in this way, like you're just more likely to reach your goals. I think I like.
I can tell you from my intuition that you are with certainty going to reach your goal.
I don't like the certainty, but I like about the idea, instead of just like forecasting, like here's like the timeline, because there's so many other things around it. I think what we could get down to is, here's like the percentage chance that like doing these activities increase your
Yeah.
likelihood of success in meeting your goals by this much percentage. And I'm sure that there is data out there for that sort of a
Hmm.
thing, to be able to
Yeah.
say like, oh, if you wake up and work out, then you are 30% more likely to then complete this task in the day because you worked out and you have the energy and stuff. I bet there's
Yeah.
research all over the place for that. So that'd be
Hmm.
interesting, and could give you the confidence that you need. It fits the emotional stuff, but it's not telling people here by this date, and getting disappointed because it doesn't happen necessarily the exact way. But that also, then maybe the date could switch around too, based off of them logging the activities. So if you have the data to, maybe their goal is like they need to write, and if they write something every day, they hit this goal at this time, but then it averages it out and might change like the goal date depending on their level of activity. I don't know. Yeah, that's
I
interesting,
think
Nick.
you just made it a good business. No, I think you just put all the ingredients together. Let me kind of synthesize what you're
Right.
saying, but we
Yeah.
turn it back into a business. So it's, you said forecasting versus fortune telling, and I think that's a way better hook. The other thing you said was anchoring data and probabilities of an outcome. So said another way and less gibberish, if you do X, your likelihood of
Mm.
achieving Y goes up, right?
Hmm.
So imagine if the business, it's business forecasting. We could use fortune telling if it's gimmicky enough. But what it really is you get on the phone with somebody who asks you like 6 or 7 questions, and from survey data that is available that you're pointing out, they can say like, if you're doing a
Mm.
percentage of these, you're X% likely to achieve the thing that you're aiming at. And they just know that from a global level. Like if you have a sales goal, doing these 5 things are the most important.
Hmm.
If you have a hiring goal, doing these 5 things are the most important. So they benchmark what you're doing against what you're trying to achieve, and they can tell your future or fortune tell.
Hmm.
Uh, that's pretty. I mean, it's your idea.
Well,
That's pretty
the
interesting.
flexibility of the date too,
Yeah,
like on a chart. I know that there
yeah,
are different ones, like Noom, psychology
yeah,
based, eating, weight loss, just healthier relationship with food, sort of a thing. They do that. They have a forecasted date of hitting your weight goal, but based off of your activity and the things
yeah,
that you're inputting into the system, it might change based off of your actual activity and actions and habits and other stuff
yeah.
like that. So, um, yeah, it's small changes over time that really affect that and add up all together. So, but that could be really interesting for being more business focused in goals like sales or
Yeah.
other things like that, instead of just an individual like weight loss journey or other
Yeah.
habits that a lot of people are really interested in.
Interesting. So our thesis from this podcast is that business fortune telling is legit when it's driven by data and not faith. Yeah.
Right. I think it takes a little bit of both though too. Like the
Mhm.
data can help you like get faith that
Mm.
you are going the correct direction. And there's a difference between faith and then there's blind faith. And maybe the fortune telling by itself might be blind faith and just trusting without necessarily testing, but it faith isn't just always blind. It can also be something that you test and is based off of experience and other things like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Business fortune telling, the key to unblinded faith.
there
All
you go.
right.
Here we
We've
go.
got our tagline.
That's a just a little brand with like a little ball as the
Yeah.
as the logo.
Yeah.
Some of those little sparkly graphics and things, and it could be
You
real.
nailed it.
It could be
All
real
right.
kitschy.
We got to get off this podcast and go found a company. I think we're on to something here.
There you go.
Well, look, man, thank you so much for coming on. I think this has been a super hard one. It's such a strange thing to make objective, but we kept going back to numbers, and we kind of did. So grateful for your creativity here. I know it's a hard one.
Oh no! Thanks for having me on. It's fun to think about. Do you come up with all of these yourself?
No, so actually I have an assistant that finds these and puts them on a list and then drops them into those. And I showed you the PowerPoint slide I pulled up. So just like you, I don't have any prep time. We just kind of hop on here and riff. But I think it's really helpful for people to see how this stuff is thought through, even
Mm.
in such a silly capacity. And I'm grateful to be on the line with somebody who actually can do it. It's a hard thing to do.
I mean, this is how it actually happens. Probably is just two people in a coffee shop that one person has an idea, and then they just start riffing on it, and all of a sudden you have these massive companies that we know right now. And so yeah, it's a fun exercise and really good, I think, for just a little break in the middle of the day here too. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. We'll do it again. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Nick. I'm gonna have to listen in and hear some of the other bad business ideas too. So
Oh
I'll
yeah, definitely check them out.
all
Check
right.
them out. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks.